our Christmas Eve vinyasa yoga. All right, let's grab a block and make yourself comfortable in a seated position on your mat. I want us to kind of get to this place where we're thinking about the morning and being calm, kind of those sensations we look for or kind of feel when we first wake up. Sometimes we're just a little bit slower, kind of starting to wake up and be aware of like if we're tired or if we're warm or cold. And if we even want to get out of bed some days, right? When it's 9 degrees out. Or I think it's colder, but it was pretty cold at our house this morning. So just as your senses kind of awaken and you're aware of all those things going on around you and maybe hearing noises if there's other people in your house. Sometimes it's the pets that get our first attention in the morning. And then just finding some gratitude for those really small things that kind of go unnoticed sometimes. And then working these feelings of gratitude and joy into our practice today. So as we kind of go about moving and things come into our mind that maybe kind of can be perceived to be negative thoughts or less than good thoughts about ourselves or the way we feel, looking and shifting that to trying to find something that is working for you, something that does feel good, even if it's just being able to take a couple breaths in that moment. And appreciating all our body does for us. And even in all the scatteredness of 2020, as we kind of wrap up the year, things were just crazy coming at us, constant change and pivoting our lives. And just being able to be grateful that our bodies and minds handle that, whether it was gracefully or not. We've got to here and now. So no matter what that looked like, it's kind of looking back on 2020 and let's find something that worked for you. What brought you joy? And giving that a little bit more of a smile. And taking that sense in your body with you throughout our practice now this morning. Let's take an inhale, reach hands out and up overhead. Sit up nice and tall, reach fingers really high. And on the exhale, hands and arms float down. Settle in here, release tension from your shoulders and jaw. And then another inhale, let arms just float up with a little bit less effort, reaching high towards the sky. And exhale, hands float down. Imagine them maybe of like a feather, nice and light. Do that one more time. Maybe feel that air move across your arms or hands. Reach up. And exhale, that air kind of glides around your arms. All right, let's just take a nice easy turn to the right as you look back over your right shoulder. And notice in your shoulders if they are kind of rounded forward. Ground down into your sit bones and sit up a little taller, lengthening. Maybe drawing those shoulders together around your spine. Not with a lot of force, just this mindfulness of sitting up taller. Continue to look over that back shoulder and check in with your breath. Let it be nice and easy. Then stay twisted, but move your gaze over towards the left shoulder, just to kind of get that neck stretched out and awaken. And let's turn back to center here for a moment. Closing our eyes, hands rest on our knees. And just taking that opportunity to notice our muscles and how everything feels. All right, let's take a turn towards the left side now. Again, kind of noticing shoulders rooting down in sit bones, lengthening through the spine here. And then once all those adjustments are made, connecting with that breath. So even though we're working ourselves into this twist, find some ease in your jaw. Then let's shift gaze over that right shoulder this time. Noticing where you feel that and sense that in your body. Coming back to our breath. And coming back forward. Let's do one more inhale, reach arms straight up overhead. And on the exhale, hands float down in front of you as you bow towards the earth. Forehead comes down. And really just letting yourself drop and hang out here. Take your chin and tuck it into your chest as deep as you can get it. And then moving just your head, gaze up and forward. Do that one more time. Tuck chin into chest. And then shift gaze forward and up. And leave that gaze up and look over to the right. Drop chin down, kind of this U shape. Let that chin draw all along your collarbone over to the left shoulder. Bring that gaze up towards the left side. And then round that chin down, cross your collarbone again, and over to the right side. Bring gaze forward. And then let's roll onto our hands and knees, or let's make our way to hands and knees. Spread fingers nice and wide. Grounding down and feeling that earth beneath our fingerprints and our knuckles. Moving through some cat-cow cycles here, doing 3 or 4 of them. Drop belly and gaze up. And then round spine, push the earth away. Adding our breath here, inhale, drop belly, gaze up. And exhale, round spine, push the earth away. Let's do a couple more of these with our own breath timing and adding any other movement that your shoulders, hips, or spine need. Kind of wake up and work any kinks out. And after those 2, let's make our way into a down dog. That upside down V where we could pedal out our feet, and we won't stay here for too long. So just find some movement. And then bend knees, gaze forward, step up between your hands. We're going to inhale, halfway lift, long spine. And exhale, bow. Let head drop. Again, that chin tucks towards your chest, grabbing opposite elbows.
Let's bend our knees in order to find some release in our hamstrings and low back. And also, while we are looking at releasing that tension from our bodies, looking again back at 2020 at maybe something that came up through the year other than COVID. Maybe it's a COVID related action, like something that happened as a result of COVID or whatever, but try to be more specific, like with something that really kind of threw you for a loop this year. And thinking about how you don't need to hold on to that anymore. You can find that release to let things go and maybe fill that space with thoughts of gratitude or looking at that thing and was there something positive or good about it that can come to mind? Kind of shifting that brain. All right, let's roll our way up to stand. And once you're kind of upright, let hands face forward. Peek down at your feet. Make sure your feet are about shoulder width apart. Wiggle your toes. And let's close our eyes here. Again, getting that sense of how the mat feels underneath our feet. Really grounding down through all areas of your feet. Looking for an evenness between right and left, between the ball of your foot and heel. And if toes are gripping at all, just ensure that they relax. All right, building from the ground, I want you to kind of visualize your ankles, your calves and shins. And how do they feel? In your knees, if they are locked out and can be a little micro bend in them, that would be a good benefit here. Sensing the quads and hamstrings, your glutes and hips, your belly and rib cage, shoulders and arms, neck, and all the way to the crown of your head. Just letting this sense of ease be in this Tadasana pose. And as you breathe here, I want you to really visualize that space between your hips, that pelvis region. And letting each inhale feel like this expanding, softening sensation. And then likewise, doing that same thing with your belly, trying to let go of any gripping or tension that might be really subtle. But as you breathe, also envision this letting go, loosening. In that heart area in your chest as you breathe and expand. Breathe with a softness. Entire torso
Just moving nice and easy, freely, without any force or holding back. All right, let's step our feet together. Take an inhale, reach hands out and up overhead, and let them float down at center here. Again, inhale, reach hands out and up overhead. And this time twist towards the right side. Right arm goes back, left arm goes forward. Bring hands all the way down to touch your thighs. And then inhale, reach back up, turn to center. On the exhale, twist towards the left side, making full range of motion with those hands and arms. Inhale brings them back up and rotate forward to center. This time forward fold, reaching for that earth. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen. And exhale, bow. Let's bend knees, plant hands, and step back into plank. Lower down to your knees. So rather than being on hands and knees here in a tabletop, I want hips kind of dropping down for this modification of plank, where I want you to hold. Creating length from the crown of the head into your knees and then to the tops of your feet. And see if the bottoms of your feet can relax here. Keeping those bottoms of your feet relaxed, engage low belly towards your spine. Take a deep inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to lower down to our bellies. Keep hands right underneath your shoulders and then inhale, lift up into a baby cobra back bend. And exhale, lower down. Let's push back into child's pose and leave your knees right underneath you for this first child's pose. Let forehead come down towards the mat. Maybe walk those hands out further away from you so you feel a deeper stretch into your shoulders or arms. And then come on up through tabletop, tuck your toes, and lift hips up into down dog. Draw heels down towards the mat, just for a moment, and then bend knees, gaze forward, step up to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, bow. Let head drop. Again, bend your knees with these forward folds today. We're going to really release through that low back and hamstrings area. Let the entire shoulder area be soft. Then let's step the right foot back and lower down to that right knee. Inhale, swoop arms up overhead. So we're in a kneeling crescent lunge. And then exhale, hands down to the mat. Let's step right foot forward. And then step left foot back. Lower down to that knee and inhale, reach hands out and up overhead. Find a good stretch. And hands come back down. Step left foot forward. Recreate that forward fold here with soft knees. Find that release. And then inhale, halfway lift, long spine. Exhale, bow. Bend knees, plant hands, step back to plank again. So option 2, stay up off of your knees as we hold this plank. We're taking the variation down to our knees. Again, this time I want you to create length out the crown of your head
through your spine and legs and out your back heels if your knees are lifted. All right, then everyone lowers down to their knees and down to their belly. Untuck toes and inhale, baby cobra. Let this be a back bend, and if glutes are clenching here, try to release them. Exhale, lower down. Push back into child's pose, knees underneath you again. Come through tabletop, make your way to down dog. Draw heels down, take advantage of this stretch through the backs of your legs. And then bend knees, gaze forward, step up between your hands. Inhale, halfway lift, long spine. Exhale, bow. Again, soft knees, really letting that upper body release and fold in towards your lap. Let's step right foot back. All right, option to lower down to that knee as a modification, or just reaching up into this high crescent lunge. And on an exhale, hands come back down, step forward. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, bow, release with those bent knees. Step left foot back. Again, variation to lower down to that knee. Everyone inhales, reaches up. Exhale down and step forward. Again, nice long spine here as you halfway lift, straighten those legs. And then notice the release as you bend your knees and forward fold. Step back into your plank. Hold plank here. And then let's all lower down to our bellies. And baby cobra, inhale. This time, if you want, you could start to straighten those arms a little bit more into a deeper back bend. Gazing upward. And then lowering back down to your belly. Push back to child's pose. Tabletop and down dog. All right, bend knees, gaze forward, step up to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, bow. Step right foot back. All right, try to keep that right knee lifted this time as you plant left or right hand down to the top of your mat. And inhale, left hand twists and opens up to the side. Exhale, bring that hand down. And then come on up to that high crescent lunge. Exhale, hands come on down to that mat. Step forward. Halfway lift and bow. Step left foot back. Left hand plants, open up into that twist. Lower hand down and rise up into lunge. Exhale, hands down, step forward. Inhale, halfway lift, engage and lengthen that spine. Exhale, bow. Step back to your plank. All right, option to add a chaturanga push-up here, or take that baby cobra one more time. Again, let's kind of observe what's going on in our bodies and try not to do anything with force here this morning. Really just looking at a way that we can remain this or keep this softness through our practice. And lower down to our bellies. Push back into child's pose. So when I say that, it doesn't mean that we don't have to work hard during our practice. It just means, like, is there ways that you can add a little bit of ease to what you're doing this morning? Come on up to tabletop. Tuck toes and lift hips up into down dog. Bend knees, gaze forward, step up between your hands. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, bow. Pause and hold here. This time grab opposite elbows. Maybe sway side to side. And bring hands back down to the mat. Step right foot back. Right hand plants, open up to our twist. Left hand reaches high. This time I want you to take that left hand and reach as far forward as you can get. And then rainbow that arm all the way up, around, and behind you. So you can even add a bind behind your back here if that feels good. And what I want you to do, we're going to do this 2 more times with that full rainbow effect. Really pay attention to how this feels in your shoulder and what that movement is in your shoulder. Can we create a little bit more ease as we move? Softness. Let's bring that left hand back down. Inhale, reach up, high crescent lunge. Ooh, I'm a little tippy this morning. All right, fingers are reaching high here. All right, now I want you to open up to a warrior 2. So we've got this heel to arch alignment we're working on. Nice strong bend in that front leg. And then soften your shoulders and jaw here. Still extending those arms away from each other. Maybe find this nice soft gaze over your front fingers. And take this to reverse warrior. Right hand comes down to thigh, stretch through left side body. Cartwheel those hands all the way down to the mat. Let's step forward. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, bow. Step left foot back. Plant left hand, open up right. And reach that right hand overhead. And up and over to behind you. These next 2 cycles, I want you to really pay attention to that shoulder again. And then we're going to bring that right hand down. Open up and lift into crescent lunge. You gaze up between your hands here. Relax your shoulders and jaw. And open up into warrior 2. Again, strong bend in that front knee. Relax shoulders and jaw. Gaze out over your right fingers. While you hold this, can you hold a little less tension in your chest and belly? Creating this soft space for your breath to kind of flow. Cartwheel those hands down. Let's step forward. Inhale, halfway lift, and exhale, bow. Step back to plank. And let's find our variations of whatever's working to flow this morning. Maybe baby cobra or up dog. Make your way back to child's pose. And then tabletop to down dog. Bend knees, gaze forward, step to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, bow. Grab opposite elbows here. Create this softness. Can that breath just be easier? Gliding in and out of your body. And then checking in with our practice so far, with that intention of finding joy in little things. Kind of looking back at that practice, and even if there are things that we weren't necessarily like doing what we thought we would do this morning or whatever, I want you to kind of look at the good things that do feel good. Even those small things like how your feet feel on the mat right now. Being able to release tension through our jaw. Right, bring those hands down to the mat, step right foot back. Plant right hand, open up left. Take 2 or 3 rainbows here with that shoulder. And with that intention of just loosening up that shoulder rather than kind of powering into anything. It's like creating this movement. Bring left hand back down, rise up into high crescent. Deep inhale, and on the exhale, move to warrior 2. Connect with that gaze, and then reverse your warrior. Follow that left hand up overhead. Deep breath in, and then on the exhale, shift gaze down to that back foot. All right, come back to warrior 2. Moving to side angle, I want forearm to come to that left thigh and reach right hand straight up overhead. See if you can ground pinky edge of that right foot towards the mat a little bit more. And notice here where your body wants to hold tension. Maybe it's your shoulders or jaw, belly. Just find one spot to soften. All right, bring hands down around that front foot. Step forward. Inhale, halfway lift, long spine. Exhale, bow. Step left foot back. Plant left hand, open up to the right. Again, let's find those rainbow effects here with that arm. Moving nice and easy. Then bringing right hand back down. On an inhale, reach up to crescent lunge.
Soften here, use that breath, and then open up to warrior two. Find that focal point, that gaze out over your fingers, and reverse your warrior. Gaze up at that top hand, and on an exhale, shift gaze towards that back foot. Come back to warrior two. Bring forearm to that thigh, extended side angle. Reach hand up overhead. Pause here. Notice where tension is at, and then address it. As you create that softness, kind of giving that mind permission to feel good. Find joy in these poses, even though sometimes they're hard. All right, bring hands down around that front foot. Let's step forward. Inhale, halfway lift, and exhale, bow. Soften those knees. If it feels good to have those hands on the mat here, feel free to leave them there. If it felt better to grab opposite elbows to find some release, you can do that as well. And I want you to take notice of those feet again. We're going to start to push down through those feet. And as you do that, try to do so evenly. And we're going to rise up to stand really slow. So paying as much attention and noticing as much as you can about those feet as you rise up to stand. Come to Tadasana. Gently close those eyes. Maybe wiggle your toes. Find this Tadasana that we created earlier where we can breathe more into that torso. So we're going to spend about 30 seconds here looking for softness and then looking for that expansion, feeling in our hips and our belly, our heart. Getting that breath to be nice and easy. Letting our minds calm as they tend to want to race around. All right, since we are at Christmas Eve, our peak pose or our balancing pose is going to be tree pose today. Yay! All right, so let's weight down into that right foot and start with hands on our hips. And starting with our hands on our hips to kind of think about that tree trunk and being evenly weighted. Even as you start to shift weight into that right foot, can those hips stay more squared off? So you'll feel that weight in your right leg, maybe even into that right hip. And as you sense that, I want you to create this length and lift from that hip socket out the crown of your head. And as you do that, finding that softness again and that ability to expand our thoughts into our hips and create some space to breathe there. See what happens when you kickstand off that left foot. Rest that ankle on your inner right ankle, or rest heel there. So we tend to really start to dump into this right hip. And I want you, even if it takes like putting your hand on that right hip, to like draw some energy towards your midline. And then lift. So we're like our tallest tree. Right, either staying there, kind of breathing, finding that softness in an unlocked knee maybe, or you can take that left foot up your leg any bit. But notice maybe as you come to your calf, like what the belly muscles are doing. How's that weight distribution between your hips? Taking it to your tallest tree. So expand those hands up overhead. Find some easy breath here, wherever you're at in the pose. So even if it's taking it down to your calf muscle, if your right leg is starting to feel nice and warm, be okay with that and just breathe. All right, hands come back to heart center. Just for a moment, close those eyes and notice your feet. And then notice that right side and left side, of how they're different right now. Just like being thankful that that right side worked so hard for us. Let's try the same on the left. So hands to your hips. Without lifting that right foot up, I want you to shift weight into that left side. Noticing all those subtle changes that start to happen, your body looking to support you, kind of shifting automatically. And then it takes us being just conscious of space in our body to make those changes to find softness. Finding length out of that hip socket. And take that right heel to your left ankle. That right knee points out towards the side. And that left hand can come to that left hip, to the outside of that hip. Just as a way to be mindful here. And creating some softness in this pose before moving on. That calf can come, or heel can come to our calf. Again, moving with ease to your peak tree pose. When you're ready, release those hands from your hips and up towards the sky. Find some smooth breath. Woo. Nice softness. And bring hands down to heart. Let's stand on both feet. Wiggle those toes. Again, let your mind calm, and those muscles untense. Your body is meant to be upright like this, so it doesn't have to do so much work. Kind of find that spot. Muscles are there to support that skeleton. But they can do so without gripping and kind of holding on to that tension. So continuing to focus that mind on areas in your body. You can create some ease, space for joy. Think about your temples here and forehead for a moment and find some softness there. And into your jaw. Right, think about that ease you have here, and we're going to try and stay nice and easy, moving kind of nice and slow onto our hands and knees. So take a deep inhale, reach hands out and up overhead. And forward fold. And any way that feels good in your body to make it down to your hands and knees. Once you're on hands and knees, take knees mat width apart, big toes come together. Sit back into child's pose, forehead comes down towards the mat. Looking to soften that breath here. And then make your way up into tabletop again. We're going to swing those legs around and find a seated spot on our mat. Make a nice round spine, drawing forehead down towards knees. Tuck chin into chest. And then keep that spine rounded as you lower down to your back. Bring those knees with you towards your chest. Interlace fingers around those shins and rock right to left. Noticing those SI joints and the back. Giving them a little massage. Rock right to left. All right, let's bring those feet to the mat. Knees are tented. And cactus out your arms here for a moment. And I want you to adjust those shoulders underneath you so that they feel comfortable. So if you don't feel comfortable with cactus arms here, it's okay to tee off those arms as well. And looking to kind of sink shoulders into the earth. Creating this heaviness, not just through your shoulder blades, but through the tops of your shoulders as well. And then let's gently drop those knees off to the left side. Taking yourself into this twist and working to keep that right shoulder down to the mat. Shift your gaze to look off to the right. Let's scan that body and see where we can soften. And come back to center. Take a couple breaths here as you kind of redistribute that weight into your shoulder blades. Tops of your shoulders sink down. Let knees drop off to the right when you're ready.
And being intentional with that left shoulder as you shift that gaze off to the left. Find release in those hips and legs. Trying not to hold on. Okay, let's make our way back to center again. Readjust those shoulders and then pull knees into your chest. Let knees come off to your sides of your rib cage, side of your body, and then reach through for happy baby. You can grab the backs of your thighs. You can grab your ankles or feet. Whatever feels good for you this morning. And then try to get those feet to go straight up towards the sky. At least the bottoms of those feet. As you see if you can pull knees down towards the edges of your mat. Then trying to sink heavier with shoulders, spine, and sacrum into the earth. So that sacrum and tailbone probably want to lift upwards. Kind of direct that the opposite direction. And notice if your jaw is helping out, creating some tension here in your body. Try to release. Make this happy baby really easy now. So everyone grabs the inner knees, that back of your thigh. Release feet. Let heels draw down towards the floor. Draw knees towards each other and then nose up towards knees. Make a tight little ball. Create that tension in your body. Holding here. Maybe even flex toes towards your nose and knees here. And then release and soften everything as you extend down into Shavasana. Really noticing before we settle here too much where your body kind of holds on to things. Maybe our hips, shoulders or jaw. Find a spot to breathe and soften, and maybe even visualizing like we did in Tadasana, how those hips can expand, create space. And while our logical brain is like, I can't breathe into my hips, that's not where my lungs are, our parasympathetic brain tells us otherwise, that we can soften, create this sense of ease by using our breath. And now for the next minute, I want you just to let all that stuff go. Just lie here and rest. If thoughts do come into your mind, we just let them go. See if they can float off. Not holding on to any one thing for too long here.
And slowly adding some movement back into our body. Maybe pressing each thumbprint or fingerprint into your thumbprint. You make a fist with your hands and then release. Wrist circles. Movement into those legs and feet. Eventually making your way off to your side. And then once on your side, making your way up to a seated spot on your mat. And find some ease once you're seated. So be intentional and sit up nice and tall. Then let your body soften, especially that chest area and shoulder area. I'm not softening to this rounding forward and just finding some ease in that breath. With eyes closed, just looking back through the last hour and thinking about something that felt really good. And even as you go about your day today, and even the rest of the Christmas holiday, all the way through the end of 2020, looking for moments that you might be able to shift and take tension or senses of things that aren't so good and look for that silver lining or look for that good, no matter how small. Sometimes trying to make that shift as we wrap up our year. And let's take a deep inhale, reach out and up overhead. Hands come together and down to your heart as head bows. Yes, thank you so much for joining me this morning on this Christmas Eve. I hope you have an amazing day and a Merry Christmas. Namaste.